This is the UC Hunting Properties Podcast, your home for all things recreational land. Our goal, to help you stand on your investment. Hey guys, welcome back to the UC Hunting Properties Podcast, bringing you one of our favorites, partner brand, all things extraordinaire in the Broadhead and hunting world. But we're joined today with Casey Davies from Sever Broadheads. Casey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited.
We're super excited. I got to start like this though, Casey, because I have every guest give us a little intro and background. But dude, the first thing I want to do is give you props on your big bull elk. We were cheering loudly from Iowa when that thing hit the ground, buddy.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, you had a big part in that, man. When I got that text that you shot that moose from your inReach, that kind of gave me some motivation to keep pushing. So
no,
I was at a low point when I got that text, and that kind of gave me that extra oomph to keep pushing up.
It was cool because I wanted to let you know, like, the Broadhead just did mass, destruction to that giant bull moose. But I got a kick out of you writing back saying, like, dude, I'm at 11,000 chasing, high country elk, like right now, or glassing or whatever you were doing. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, you caught me right when I had just a teach of service up on top of a mountain, and I was like, this is what I need. And then I got a text from another buddy that was in another canyon. He's like, bulls are screaming over here. So we went out, packed everything out, went back in the 6 miles into that basin, and ended up shooting him. So
wow, 6 miles in.
Yeah, it was a ways in there. 6 miles to camp, and then it was about a half mile to 3/4 mile from camp where I shot him.
Okay, okay, fair enough. So you were packed in 6 and hunting basically right there.
Yep. So on the pack out, it was
brutal.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was like 18 and a half miles round trip, doing it 2 trips out with a buddy. Yeah, it was not a lot of fun, but I look back at it and it's one of my favorite memories now. Yeah. It's always funny how that works. Like when you're in the moment, you're like, oh, this sucks. I never want to do this again. And then you give it 2 weeks and you're like, man, can't wait for next year.
You basically just summed up my moose hunt. You know what I mean? Because the harder the grind is, the more rewarding it is when it's done. But like in the moment, you're like, oh my God, this is like, I'm dying.
Yeah, am I going to make it type of thing. Yeah.
Right. So, with that, I wanted to start there, dude, because you and I've had a chance to sidebar, but that elk is a stud. I mean, that's something to be very, very proud of, man.
Yeah. No, it was a ton of fun, and then have my best friend next to me it's always nice having him there too. So
makes it a little more special. Absolutely. Yep. All that said, Casey, like I said, I mean, you guys, we consider you guys our preferred partner or partner brand, when it comes to Broadheads, but, give our listeners a little background on you, Casey. And I mean, like I said, take this from a personal side where you grew up and whatever, how you got into hunting, and then the professional side, how did you land with a very recognizable brand, in Sever and what you're doing for Sever?
For sure. Yeah, so I started hunting when I was 6, actually. So my grandpa and my dad were absolutely hellbound on getting me set up early and get addicted to it. So my grandpa had a doe tag when I was 6 that he let me shoot. He built a 25-06 with a muzzle brake on it that a 6-year-old little tiny kid could shoot,
That's a good caliber too.
Oh yeah, I mean and he had it set. I mean, it feels like a 22 when you shoot it. I still got it, but was able to harvest that first year when I was 6, and then I shot a buck when I was 8, and that was when I was like really hooked. And it's funny how you have those, you can't remember much from those years of your life, but those 2 instances are like absolutely burned in my memory.
Yep.
Like I can close my eyes and still envision sitting on the fence line with my dad, early morning, and that 2-point came out. It was nothing big, but super exciting. Still got him on the wall.
That's why we do it, and I think that's awesome. Like I always think of taxidermy that way, right? So
yeah,
I'm a big fan, and like every piece of taxidermy, yes, it's art, but really what it is you're hanging a story on the wall. And even to this day, I got lots of mounts and stuff, but like there isn't one in my collection that I couldn't literally tell you pretty detailed how it went down, how it's just weird to me how looking at like a mount brings you back to that space. You feel the wind, you can still smell the air. Like everything that transpires. That's actually why I love taxidermy a ton. But anyway, back to you, man.
Yeah,
I
and
can
I'm
totally
the same way
relate
on
with
that.
that. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just fell in love with it. I mean, I was always known, and we grew up in the city here in Salt Lake, and I was kind of the odd duck, more or less. Not everybody in my school hunted. It was a very few amount of kids that hunted in there. So I was always kind of the weird kid that wore hunting shirts to school. And,
Sure.
you know, it's funny because you hear about like the Midwest and stuff like that. And it's like hunting's the thing to do. But out here in the city, it's kind of the uncool thing to do.
So you
So,
grew up right
uh,
in Salt Lake, Casey?
so it's like the south end of the valley. So down, it's called South Jordan.
Okay.
Um, so we were kind of in that last little bit of farm country. Like I grew up on 20 acres, just like hay fields and stuff like that. So I had that adventure of as a kid, we'd go out and trap foxes and raccoons and stuff like that in the backyard. So I've been pretty obsessed with the outdoors since a young age. Got really into it when I was 18. So I went to college for a year. Wasn't my thing. Wasn't
Sure.
I'm not much of a sit down book learner kind of guy. So I actually started at Shields part time, just in their hunting department. One of my friends was working there and was like, "Hey, if you want just a part time gig till you find out what you want to do, you should come work at Shields." And so started there selling hunting stuff and was like, "This is what I want to do. Like, I want to be in the industry. Like, this is a ton of fun, just helping customers out. When you get people come back and the jacket you sold them, they went and shot a big deer, or the decoys that you sold them, they went and shot ducks over it.
Well, and the one thing I'll say, and I guess this is a little, some props or kudos for Shields. To me, Shields has that feel of old school Cabela's, man. Like and
Yeah,
I don't mean that like the look and stuff of their stores, obviously very modern, upbeat, what have you, but their associates, in my opinion, are very well trained. Like I've never had a bad experience at a Shields, and it seems like Shields has, I'm not saying taken over for Bass Pro Cabela's or whatever. Like I think they all have their place, but Shields to me really does have subject matter experts in a lot of the areas of their stores. Like, and it shows and it's impressive.
yeah, and it's the hiring process because towards the tail end before I started here at Sever, I was actually on part of the hiring team, and so the way we go through that is we put the people into the passion. So if they're showing that they hunt, showing that they fish, we'll put them in those areas, or if they're into soccer, we'll put them in soccer. And so I think that's a big important thing is that we're not just forcing things; we're making sure we're putting the people in the right fit
Right,
and
right.
having that passion, and
No,
then the training on top of it too.
yeah, I
You
think
know,
kudos to them because whatever they're doing seemingly clicks.
Yeah, then so I never bow hunted. My family's not much of a bow hunting family. We're all rifle hunters growing up, and I had some friends that did it, and I would tag along every so often.
Sure.
And it was something I was always interested in. When I started at Shields, their archery department, their archery manager at the time, his name's Dustin Whitwer. He works for Gunworks now, actually. Kind of took me under his wing and showed me how to shoot a bow, how to work on a bow. Um, and then Chills invested their time into me, sent me out to Sparta, Wisconsin. I went to Matthews Academy, so I was at Matthews for a full week,
Yep.
pretty much learning how to work on their bows from the guys at Matthews. And then they also sent me here to Hoyt, kind of did the same thing. So the training that they give you there is top notch. So if you
Well, and
don't know something, you
I
can know it.
I think it's worth noting this too, and I may be slightly speaking out of. I think this is still accurate.
Yeah.
Shields from like a big box retail, right? And again, not trying to put them in their own category, but like they are big and they're all over the
Yeah.
place. And as far as I know, they're about the only ones with that presence that even get access to some of the higher end brands like Hoyt and Matthews and Elite and
Yeah.
so I think that's unique in the fact that they're investing in, the techs like you were,
Yeah.
to get that level of training is good. Cause dude, I mean, I had a pro shop forever and even my personal view on Shields, like if a bow came from Shields or we, help set somebody up or tune somebody, more often than not, their experience was good at Shields. And I can't say that for a lot of the other big box stores. So,
Oh, a
um,
100%. Yeah. I still have full faith, and even though I don't work there anymore, I still have full faith in them. I think they're a great company.
right.
Um, but I was going to say, so got all that interest, got into archery. I actually left for 6 months because I was only 20 at the time. I was just a young punk kid, got passed up for a position, kind of got upset, left, realized it was a huge mistake, and I wanted to go back because I went to like sell power tools, and I was like, I don't like talking about power tools all day. So I kind of went crawling back and ended up getting the archery shop, and so that's when I started running that pro shop out of the Shields here in Sandy, and I ended up actually growing sales about 50% year over year for 3 years straight, and I accredit that a lot to, and I'm actually bringing a lot of this to Sever too, since starting here, but that customer attention and really making people feel like they're a part of something. So that's been like my big thing since starting at Sever, running the social media, running customer service is I just want to make the customers feel like they're being heard and that
Yep.
they're a part of a team, with
Yep.
Sever. So you're not just, you know, openly just tagging, another company and they're not responding. Like I'm, trying to share, I'm trying to shout them out, I'm trying to give them kudos. If anybody has a question, I'm more than happy to answer, even if it doesn't pertain to broadheads. I've answered anything from bow setups to
Sure.
tuning questions and stuff like that. So, and I feel like that's had a little bit of a bump for us. I've noticed a huge uptick in, our customer comments and people sending in stuff that they've harvested. So,
No, I,
um,
and dude, keep up that good work because I mean it
yeah,
shows, and I do feel like um, the outdoor industry is interesting because it does seem like things trend up, and then some
yeah,
of them just die, right? Like they're cool for a little bit, and then they fade, and I feel like Sever's trajectory's been kind of the plumb opposite. Like I feel like you guys made a big splash in, and we're going to talk about this probably more in depth because I
yeah,
do want the Sever story. But you guys, at least from an outsider looking in, Casey, to me, you guys just continue to trend up, and a lot of it's kind of to your point, what you're doing and in the involvement, and the fact that you guys aren't just broadhead sales organization. And I guess I'm saying that because I feel like that's what a lot of brands are.
yeah.
You have a lot more personalized feel and even how you guys present yourselves. So
No, and that's kind of my thing. Like we've been talking a lot with our kind of like our sales team that's here, and it's just building that tribe, making people feel like they have somebody to connect with on
yep,
a company basis, and especially when you get like the younger kids. Like I was that guy at one point in time, tagging Matthews and tagging Easton and all these people, hoping to just get a comment from them. And so that's kind of like my thing is I try to put myself in these other people's shoes because I've been there. And so I know it's going to make somebody's day, and I know that's going to make them feel special, and so that's
for
what I try to do.
no,
So
like I said, keep it up. You're doing a great job with that. Um,
yeah. So yeah, kind of how I got here at Sever. So I guess I'll kind of tell that. So when I first started running the shop, Tyson Yates, he's actually our Easton brand or sales manager, VP of sales,
mm-hmm.
and I kind of just kept a good relationship with him throughout the years, and would always kind of put a bug in his ear, like, hey, if you ever have anything at Easton, let me know. And it just kind of kept falling, and then finally this last year, he hit me up in October or November, sometime around then. It was like, hey, just so you know, we're probably going to start a new position for Sever because it's just been Easton customer service for the last few years, essentially running Sever. So that nobody's ever put like a full like attention behind it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that was like the goal with me in hiring me in this position was to kind of put some steam behind it and put somebody that's their whole job is just focusing on growing Sever.
Yeah.
So
Put it one to put a name and a face with the brand, right? I mean, you almost got to
yeah,
have that, per se lead person, beating the drum the hardest. And obviously that's you at Sever. So
yeah. No, and
cool.
it's yeah. So I started here in June of this year. So Tyson gave me a call. We did a round of interviews. I interviewed with the whole team here at Easton. Um, Luckily, I got chose. I had some pretty stiff competition. I actually knew two of my other people I was competing against, and they were pretty
Sure.
pretty good studs too. So I was very lucky to get chosen. Um, but yeah, that's how I got here, and I'm super excited. And I mean, I'm only 4 months in, but we've got some steam rolling. So
You definitely got some steam rolling, dude. And what a cool brand. Like I said, I mean, to me, you're one of the, trendy brands that popped up and continue to climb in the platform, But tell us tell the listeners a little bit about the Sever story, Casey, because
Yeah,
I think this is cool as well.
for sure. So kind of how I guess we'll just start from the very beginning. So the Ulmer brothers, Rusty and Randy, they started a Broadhead company early 2000s, and it was because Randy really wanted a very accurate broadhead, and everything that he was shooting out there, he always had to tune to, and so. And he's a competition archer. He shot 3D leagues, and he was notorious across the circuits and stuff
Well,
like
and
that.
I don't think I can't speak to Rusty Almer. I'm not familiar with Rusty, the other brother, but Randy for sure. If you're in the bow hunting community at all, dude, in my mind, he's legend status number one, right? I mean,
Oh
he's a
yeah,
Hall of Fame hunter. But what he's achieved in his bow hunting career is, boy, I mean, I gotta think he's a top 5 guy all time. I mean, he's had,
even higher than that in
yeah,
my opinion.
world records, state records. I mean, I don't know, and I've never researched, does he have the Grand Slam or like all that stuff, but I gotta think he does, because Randy Almer's appeared in more, and I'm old school, Casey, but like, dude, he was the poster boy on a lot of the Western big game magazines and the Hoyt posters, and you could go right down the list, but I mean, very, very well respected in the hunting and target community.
Yeah, and I
So,
don't think there's a year that goes by that guy doesn't shoot a 200-inch deer.
well,
Like
even this
it's
year, like, dude, he wrecked a monster sheep. He's wrecked a monster mule deer that I seen, and
yeah.
like I said, this is me doing zero research on where Randy's season is today, but I mean, I'm just talking through the years in general. But he's top 5, in my opinion. He's top
Yeah.
5 dude in modern archery.
Oh yeah, 100%. And and it's all proven. You can just go through his page and just see
Yeah,
that
he
he's just a killer.
crushes hammers.
And and so like his big thing was accuracy because he could just never find a head that actually flew straight. And
Yep.
so him and his brother Rusty was the kind of the main brain behind it. But they developed the Ulmer Edge, and the whole thing that they wanted to do was provide a head that was slim, that flew like a field point, and then you could set into practice mode and actually shoot like a field point.
Shoot
And
the
so that was
broadhead, not like a practice broadhead. You're shooting the real broadhead.
yeah. So, and I mean, Randy to this day, like we sent him some hybrids earlier this year, and they asked me to send him like 4 dozen, and I was like, why does he need 4 dozen broadheads? And our engineer here explained to me that that's what he uses as field points. He doesn't even shoot field points anymore before a season. He just runs severs. So it's pretty cool, seeing that. In my opinion, one of the best archers in the world is trusting our heads and has that,
Wow, it's
the
it's
love for broadhead.
undeniable, and like you said,
Yeah.
he can back it up. It's not like he's just blabbing on himself. The dude's got record after record after record, and he just constantly produces. I mean, he's a
Oh
machine.
yeah. 100%. So Omer Edge kind of ran its course. I remember when I first started at Shields, we actually sold it. And so it had the Randy Ulmer signature on it. And then it just kind of disappeared. And like I didn't really know where it went. Nobody really had a solid answer to where it went. And apparently, I didn't know this because I wasn't here at the time, but Easton bought the rights to it because I guess Randy was wanting to sell it. Just Randy and Rusty wanted to get out of it. They were just getting a little bit older, wanted to retire. So Easton bought it because they wanted to start their own kind of broadhead company.
Sure.
And so we took it, put our spin on it, made them titanium, went through our whole process, and then it's Sever as it is today. So we bought that in 2017. And then 2018 is when it launched to the public. And so I know because I had some people here at Easton that I was friends with, and I kind of saw the progression of it. And they did a hard launch, and it was a big Western kind of head. They were at all the tax out here. Fun fact: I actually was given one Sever when I was like 21, or was it 22, back in 2018, and was given one Sever, and the guy told me to try. It was actually Clint. He's one of my guys I work for now, but he told me to go try it. And I had a whitetail hunt in Missouri that year, and actually shot my first whitetail buck and my only whitetail buck with that Sever 2.1 actually, and it did great. Went 40 yards, jumped a fence, and piled up. And yeah, so that was my first experience with Sever. Was the first year they actually came out, and I've been a believer since then. I think they're a great head. But yeah, that's kind of the Sever story, and we've built upon that, we came out with different models. Originally it was just the 2.1 inch cut and the 1.7 all purpose is what we called it.
Yep.
And then we've changed it into the 1.5, 1.75, 2 inch, and now that new 1.5 hybrid. So
No, your guys' lineup's outstanding. And I can speak a couple things on that actually. And I may be saying this wrong, so back me up on this, Casey. But like what I remember is when Sever launched in the marketing campaign was outstanding. First of all, you guys blew it up, at the time. But was Sever truly the first? I guess I'm going to just say consumer direct push in the broadhead industry because it's the only one I can think of that was speaking directly to the consumer, not necessarily the pro shop or the big box store at the time. It seemed like it was a straight consumer direct play.
yeah, so I maybe shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. But so just from what I gathered is we tried getting into retail stores when we first got it. We contacted a lot of these different shops and stuff like that, and they all denied us. They said, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. And so the way I took it is our guys upstairs, they just said bet and went direct to consumer.
Yep.
And, we kind of reshaped it. Like we were the first company to ever do that besides, we saw Kuyu doing it with camo,
Sure.
a couple of the other companies that are doing it direct to consumer in the hunting industry, but nobody done it with broadheads. And honestly, it's been wildly successful for us because for us, it's kind of, we can control the brand image with that. You're not waiting for some guy behind a counter at a shop to, if he has one bad experience and he's never going to, speak highly of him again. We've all worked in shops or been around shops, how opinionated people can get inside those shops. So it's nice on that way is that we can kind of protect it and be the face essentially. We're not relying on other people to be the face for Sever. And I think that's what's caused a lot of our great success that we've had. So
when I even think of the your broadhead aside, Casey, right? Like the buying experience. So the first time I went out and bought Sever off the website, it was clean. It was simple. You guys gave the consumer options. Like you weren't stuck buying a 3-pack for $40 or whatever, a 6-pack. You could mix. Like I think to this day, if I wanted 5 Sever broadheads, I can order 5 Sever broadheads.
yeah.
So even from that perspective, I thought it was a cool experience because, dude, we all grew up shooting whatever NAP Thunderheads from Walmart or from the pro shop down the street, and the game's moved a long way. So, like I said, my experience with Sever from day one's been excellent, and I feel like you guys just keep building the brand stronger and stronger and stronger. So, I guess I want to ask, that said, is your guys' go-to-market strategy now, obviously it's blended, because I know you're in, pro shops and stuff now, but your go-to-market strategy clearly today is different than it was, 5 years ago.
Yeah, and so we started, as probably most people have followed Sever for a long time, is we started really hot in the Western market. That was kind of like our big thing. We're based in Utah, it's kind of just natural. You want to get excited about the stuff you're around. But, when I came in, I noticed there was a huge decline in sales come September and October. And I was from, looking at Shields and seeing what, our stores in the Midwest and stuff like that would do during those times of year. I'm like, there's no way that we're dropping that much. And so my big focus this year has been really growing the whitetail market. And I don't know if that's kind of along the question you were asking there, but that's kind of my focus.
Right, and I was just curious because, I mean, clearly a guy can still go buy consumer direct from you guys, but you can also go to a fair amount of retailers at this point or Sever dealers.
Yeah, so, coming from a retail background, so whenever somebody reaches out, we give them a slight discount to buy. So it's not a dealer program per se. They're still buying off of our website like a customer, and then they're getting a slight discount.
But you help them build a little margin in to make it make sense, clearly.
Yeah, make a little bit of margin for them. Like I understand how it is to make sales and make margin and all that stuff. So, and that's just kind of my testing, I guess, per se for our future plans of, we have a kind of a goal in the next 3 to 4 years is to eventually get into retail. And that's just because we've grown our image. I feel like we have our brand out there. A lot of people know who we are. So it's not just going to be a new product on a shelf that nobody knows.
Right.
People are going to be excited about it. Like I have one shop in Texas that I work with pretty close. And I mean, they've sold over 600 heads in the last 2 months since they started with me.
Sure.
So, and it's just because their guys are excited. I'm building that relationship with them. I'm getting those guys pumped about it. I've got a couple of their staff shooters shooting their heads, and so it's just building that excitement behind it. And I'm starting to kind of use the shops as like a testing ground. We actually just set up with a shop in Australia too. Sever's never been in Australia until this
Nice.
year.
Nice.
So I just got off a phone call with those guys last night, and they're super excited. They're ordering 500 or 600 heads down in Apex Archery in Australia. So
Super
it's
cool.
it's cool seeing it like grow and expand from just being a Western United States company to now we're starting to go into the worldwide kind of network.
One
So
and the other thing I'll give you guys some props on, because with you guys being Western based, right?
yeah,
I felt like there was always a stigma, especially in the West, that like a mechanical broadhead didn't belong in the West. And guys are like, dude, if you're elk hunting or moose hunting, sheep hunting, whatever, you better be shooting a fixed blade broadhead because you're, in essence, removing any potential of something going wrong, right? But then the pro shop guy in me's like, hey, that in theory, I get what they're saying, but I'm also very cognizant of the fact of tuning a fixed blade broadhead. I will go out on a limb and say 95% of guys are not savvy enough to truly tune their bow to a broadhead. They're fake moving their sight to make it work, right?
yeah,
And I always kind of use 40 yards as the sweet spot, Casey, where if I could have a fixed blade and my field point hitting at 40, call it identical. That's probably as good as you're going to get. But once you get to 50, 60, 70 yards, it was almost, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's almost impossible to truly have a bow tuned that perfectly, because that broadhead's deflecting wind. Like, it's changing the trajectory of what that arrow's doing, period. So I felt like you guys broke that stigma. Like, I feel like Sever almost single-handedly was like, this is the brand you can use on Western big game. You're going to get pinpoint accuracy like you would out of a field point. And you're going to cut them big, and you're probably going to watch them die. What'd the blood trail look like? I'm like, didn't care. Visibly watched him tip over in 40 yards. We didn't blood trail nothing.
yeah.
And you really can't say that about virtually any of the fixed blade broadheads. I mean, you're doing more damage. You're cutting them bigger.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
And that's kind of the stigma I had to fight quite a bit earlier this year. Is, you get guys that call in and they're fixed blade through and through because they listen to some YouTuber that shouts and promotes fixed blade broadheads only.
And he's probably shooting a 900 grain arrow because he's an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We know what you're talking about. And that's not it. Like, you don't need to have a big old nasty fixed blade broadhead. For me, I'd rather make sure that if I'm putting a follow-up shot or even just an initial shot on a mule deer out here in Utah, it's going to be 60, 70 yards.
Yeah.
Like the deer I shot this year, it was 70 yards, and he, I hit right where I wanted to, and I probably wouldn't have the confidence with a fixed blade broadhead to do that.
Right.
Because 70 yards, I mean, that's a poke.
It's a bomb.
But to actually have that confidence, I know when I'm centering that pin on that animal that I'm going to hit right behind that pin is very comforting. So
100%. Yes. And,
and people always ask like about, your arrows tuned to the broadhead. And a lot of people don't know, like, I don't ever on these Severs, I don't ever have to tune anything to the actual broadhead. I just have an arrow that's tuned to my bow with field points, slap a broadhead on, and I'm getting downrange accuracy out to 80, 90 yards.
And dude, that's been my experience, like to a T, right? Even with a lot of background, with bows and tuning and pro shop and everything, that's probably my favorite thing about a Sever is whatever you guys are doing from a machining perspective and whatever, your tolerances are so tight. Number one, I don't see a difference going from my field point to my broadhead. So that, obviously that's a given. But then number two is I've never seen a difference when I go sever to sever to sever dude, they're all the same. Like I don't think if I had a your 2.0, your 1.75, your 1.5, and your 1.5 hybrid, I think I could have 4 arrows with 4 different severs, and I'd be busting knocks. Like I've never seen any difference, and it's, I'll be honest, dude, it's made me a little lazy on a tuning side, because if my bow's hammering all summer, honestly, about the last week is when I'll throw the lock in and shoot some broadheads, because I'm like, truthfully, I don't need to. I know where they're going to go. And I see zero difference in flight or anything. And it, at least for my setup, Casey, it's at about 80 yards where I'm starting to hit low with a broadhead, but I literally think it's because it's displacing just a touch more wind than a field point, right? I'm getting a little more drag. And when I say a little, I'm talking like a 3-4 inch noticeable drop, but I'm talking at 80 yards, dude. I'm not talking
at poke.
I mean at 60, I swear it's, a golf ball. Like there's no, and that's all the better I can shoot. So like I don't have any other way to judge it.
No, and that's been a big question for us this year, is with that hybrid. It's new for us. We've always had just the 2 blade cuts, kind of like the ones on my shirt. And then adding those bleeder blades in, it made a lot of people really skeptical about flight. But a lot of people that they don't know is our engineers, when they were designing that head, that was the first thing they had in mind, was we have to keep our field point accuracy. That's like what has us known. That's our biggest claim to fame. We have to keep that. And so when they were designing it, they actually did a lot of different design or tests with where that bleeder blade was positioned on the ferrule. And they found that sweet spot where it's at right now. So if you look at it, kind of, if you have one in your hand and you're looking at it from the side, you'll notice that those blades are in line with the deployment arms. So it doesn't affect any of the extra turbulence on there with those additional bleeder blades. So that's how we're still holding that accuracy, by adding, extra blades to it.
Well, and I'll admit it, Casey, I was skeptical. I mean, you and I had this conversation because I have shot your 1.5 forever, like now years, right? And I love that head, dude. I mean, it's what I ordered before you and I even talked. And you kind of talked me into, at least giving the hybrid a chance. And then when I started shooting it, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. Like, I want the bleeder blades. I want more damage. And I didn't see any difference between how it shoots and the 1.5 shoots. So
exactly.
Hence the fact you guys got the card pull for my moose hunt, right? It was either going to be that 1.5 or the hybrid, and it was the hybrid.
Yeah, I did. And that, just the success we've seen from that hybrid, like that's, after seeing how successful that style of head's been for us this year, it's definitely something we're working on some other designs on right now.
Oh, good. You're going there. I was going to force you to go there if you weren't gonna.
Yeah, so just stay tuned on that. Our engineers are hard at work up there, but we got some fun stuff coming to the pipe. But
cool.
That hybrid head though, like you get bad calls every once in a while. Somebody makes a poor shot, or it doesn't end up, it hits a shoulder and doesn't go all the way in or whatnot. This is me being 100% honest, I take probably 95% of the customer service calls too. I have yet to take one bad phone call or one bad email about that hybrid. I still get a couple
on wood, but I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, every day I hop on Instagram, go through the messages, and it's just like, look at this blood trail, look at this, and it's just crazy the blood trails we're seeing and success we're seeing. And I'm getting pictures and videos of guys blowing through elk ribs at 40 yards and still getting a pass through, and it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely insane. So,
it's a wicked design, and it's interesting to me because it's simple, right? So, like, when I look at it, it doesn't look, super high tech or anything. But there's little things, like I noticed the perfect balance, where you guys have the bleeders. I seen that they're slightly kiltered, or I'm saying kiltered, I don't know if that's the right word, but clearly that was some engineering deal. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they're just randomly on there. There's a lot of thought in that design.
Oh man, if you just go into the lab, we call it up here, and watch these guys design things and test things, like, we don't skip any steps. Like, they do every single thing that they can possibly think of, from shooting it in the center blocks to shooting it through 1/4 inch steel, and seeing how it holds up. And so, I mean, we put it through the ringer before we drop it for the customers. So
there's no doubt about that, because I mean, I shot that bull moose. This is what really made me a believer. When I shot him, Casey, I tucked it. He was slightly quartering too, so I mean, I tucked it in the crease. So I'm
Yeah.
basically right off his shoulder, and then it drove all the way down through him. And had I not hit his offside, basically elbow, right, is where
Yeah.
it hit in the leg. Number one, I'd have blown right through him like a hot knife in butter. But number
Yeah.
two, what impressed me was although my arrow broke, right, so it stuck in his leg, he goes. My arrow was actually in three pieces. When I pulled that broadhead out of that leg, I could have folded it up and shot it again. No, it wasn't bent. It was like mind-boggling to me on that big of an animal and knowing how tough their hide is. Just their bone structure wrecked him. I mean,
Yeah.
wrecked him. 23 seconds from shot to him being dead in
Which is
approximately 40 yards.
insane on a 2,000 pound
Yeah,
animal,
or whatever. You know what I mean? Whether
that
they're
thing is massive.
they're
Yeah.
just giant. Yeah, and then the damage was insane. Like I in the moment I didn't think of it, but I should have taken more pictures. Like it hit the
Yeah.
top of his heart, and I had a perfect broadhead mark. Why I didn't take that picture, I have no idea. I sat and gawked at it for a while, but
Yeah. You're in the moment.
yeah, and that's, I guess that's the only way I can put it. But I mean that thing to me seems bulletproof, and dude, they are scary sharp, like surgical sharp.
Yeah.
Even in that moose, like the precision, even like how the hair and the hide is cut, it looks like you took a scalpel and literally made a slit. And then
Yeah.
those bleeder blades like exploded it. But anyway, what I'm probably the most excited about with that head being new, dude, we're going to shoot a bunch of whitetails with it, right? Like a lot of our crew at UC Hunting Properties, we're kind of deer first guys, even though we all love coming out west. So there's going to be a bunch of whitetails getting tipped over here in probably the next 30, 35, 40 days. And
Yeah.
I'm stoked to see the devastation on a whitetail. Like I may be aiming at shoulders purposely
Just to see what
just to
happens.
see what and I know that sounds unethical, but like I always tuck the crease. And I'm cool with an arrow getting per se broke if I'm shooting a deer. Like to me, that's maybe the trade off, right? But I'm probably gonna watch him die too.
No, and that's everything we've seen just because of the whitetail hunts opening up last week on the first. A lot of states we've already been seeing stuff pouring in. Of guys whacking does, stacking does with them, and it's fun seeing the guys that are shooting like 3 deer with the same head without changing the blades, which is just wild to me. But it's a testament to how they work.
Yep. And how
And
durable
so
they are.
yeah, and that no problems with the titanium. That's the other thing that kind of sets us apart from other companies is the materials we use. We're able to offer a premium product for a decent price just because we're direct to consumer. Kind of sorry, circling back to that, but we're using the best materials out there, and we're seeing the success for the durability and being able to reuse the heads multiple times. I have guys that year after year they'll just buy more replacement blades. They're like, "This is my fifth year." They're just running the same three heads they bought originally. And just getting new blades and sending them through animals because those ferrules are so dang tough.
Yeah,
So
they're like I said. I mean, I don't even have There's nothing I could rip on you guys about from a design perspective that I wish was different. And I've been using them forever. So awesome to have you on board as a partner. It did garner a lot of excitement on our team, and our team's about 500 members strong all over the country. So you're going to see a bunch of critters getting hammered, like I said, in the next 45 days if I had to just put a timeline on it.
no, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm honestly kind of jealous just because I'm out of tags out here in the West. So
Yeah,
it's
that's something we'll work on, Casey. We'll get you into the Midwest. We'll do a hunt next year. Drag you into Kansas or Missouri, or I'd say Iowa, but the tag situation's so tough in
yeah,
Iowa, like it's a years out thing. But dude, we're gonna connect somewhere and get you, like I said, whether it's Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, somewhere, maybe Oklahoma even.
yeah.
We'll do a partner hunt and get you in and let you smash another whitetail.
No, I'm all about that, man. No,
Right
it's
on.
exciting stuff, and excited to get more versed into that whitetail community. It's something that
We got a
I've always
bunch.
wanted to do.
We got a bunch of deer nerds, buddy. Like
Yeah,
it, and it's a world of itself, with the management and owning a farm and managing a farm and like the whole thing. But I mean, I'd argue whitetail drives that, even though all of us are, or a lot of us are passionate about coming out west. And I'll be with a big group. Well, Slade Priest, you guys are hooked up with Slade. He's our number
Yeah.
one agent. We'll be starting an elk hunt. We take off Thursday. We start hunting on Saturday. But both Scott Lindsay, Slade's broker, and Slade will be in camp with us. So it'll be a good
Awesome.
time. Yeah.
No, you guys will start stacking some stuff. You guys are a bunch of killers.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try.
Yeah.
So
Well, sweet, man.
yeah, dude.
I'm excited
Anything
for you.
else you want us to, or you want to leave us with, Casey, on Sever? I mean, like I said, I can't thank you enough. You've been very gracious with some discounts and stuff for our team. You already kind of gave us the foreshadowing, with the products in the works. Now, I will ask one question on that. Is that something you guys will like coincide a launch around the rest of the industry? And I'm saying ATA-ish time. Is it something
Probably
that you
not.
bring when it's ready? Like,
Yeah, so we try to get through like spring bear testing.
yep.
So I'll be honest, I shot my deer this year with a prototype,
Uh-huh.
and it worked great. So we've had a couple. We've had an elk and a deer so far. Mine, and there was another guy up here at Easton that shot an elk with one as well. Um, but we try to get it through as many kind of paces as we can before we release it to the public. So I know there's a few guys we're trying to get some spring bear hunts and some spring turkey hunts on, just to see how it performs on that end. And then we'll probably drop it sometime around May or June, like we did with the hybrid this year. So yeah, so if you're waiting for something, it's going to be a little bit, but yeah, we got some stuff working. We'll definitely be dropping something new next
Just
year.
know that it's in the works. Yeah. Right
Yep,
on. Right on. Right on. Okay. Well, I love that. I think we'd have a lot of product testers. If you want guys shooting pigs or something with a hybrid, we could make arrangements.
for sure. No, I once we get a full working prototype right now, or once we get a full series of prototypes, I'll definitely keep you guys in mind.
You're
So
the
you guys are
man.
killers. So.
You're the man. Well, Casey, we'll call it a wrap with that. And like I said, we'll do this again. Maybe we'll do it
Yeah,
after we get back from elk camp. Maybe we'll grab you. I'm hoping that there's a few bull elk that get knocked down with the 1.5 hybrid. So,
I was gonna say I'd love to hear some hunting stories, man. So
that's fingers crossed, bud.
exactly.
But appreciate your time. Appreciate the partnership, Casey. And as always, thanks. And thanks to everyone for listening.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.